Hi everyone, my name's Anne-Marie and today we're going to stencil using texture paste. Now this is day 2 of our special with an introduction to texture paste being yesterday, and today we're just going to do a basic stencil, but I'm going to do it in real time so you see absolutely everything from start to finish. I am going to put all these videos on my blog as a series. So we'll go from yesterday, from the introduction right through to the advanced that we finish with at the end of the week. I can't promise they're all going to be short videos because I want you to see the whole process. So some of them are going to be a little bit longer than normal, maybe not. We'll have to see how we go. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to need is our protective mat. You can see mine is very messy, very dirty, but it's covering up my non-slip mat. Now the next thing I'm going to need is some scrap paper, and I am going to just use a little bit of craft masking tape to fasten my scrap paper down. Now even though, and I've got to be honest, I don't always fasten it down, I'm going to be professional today and show you everything that you should do because you want to hold it in place. That's the main thing. Next, I need a piece of cardstock that I want as my base for my stencil. And then I'm going to take some more craft masking tape, and this is available from any good craft retail shop or online. I will put a link to where I got mine from on my blog. Now I'm simply going to fasten this down in 2 corners because I know this the design on my stencil, and this is my stencil, and I know that if I place this over the base, then I can add my tape in the corners. So I'm going to take some more tape and tape it down again. So let's just tear that off, and I'm going to fasten it down in the other 2 corners like that, opposite to the 2 that I've just put the tape on. Okay, so that is our stencil fixed in place. The back of our sheet, underneath our stencil, back on top of our sheet protected. I'm going to use my spatula so that I can scrape my texture paste on. And the texture paste I'm going to use is the Ising 3D texture paste. Okay, so I'm going to take the lid off. I don't need to mix it or anything. It's nice solid paste in the pot. It does look like I could dip my finger into it, but I won't bother because I don't want to get messy. And I'm trying to dispel, all the myths that you get really messy with texture paste. So what we can do is we can take a good scraping on the back of our spatula, and then I'm going to take it straight to the stencil and wipe it over, and then bring the spatula down, pressing gently, and then going back over to scrape it off and up, so that I'm getting it in all those spaces on the stencil. Nice, smooth action. And I've got to say, I find it quite therapeutic. And I'm going to do the next layer again. Well, I'm saying layer, next section. And you can always take a little bit off if you think you've got too much on. But it's just kind of getting it on there and then getting your layer smooth. And if you've ever watched anybody plaster a wall, then it's kind of like that on a smaller scale. So I'm taking my time over it because I want you to see the full thing. There we go. Just pull the spatula down. Now in the introduction I talked about how I use a spatula rather than a knife, for the simple reason that it's easier to use and manipulate as you're using it on your stencil. I have in the past used a knife, but since receiving my spatulas, I've not looked back. So then we can just get to the last little bit and just add some more for this corner and make it nice and smooth. There we go, a little bit more. You just keep going till you've covered your stencil, there, like so. And that's why we have our protective paper on the back. And then we can go back over it to make sure we've got a nice even level. We can put the extra back in the pot that we're scraping away, because it can be saved for next time. And because you're scraping it off, it's all going to be the same. I'm not going to say the height, but you're not going to have more on some places than others. So just take your time over it. It's not going to dry instantly. If you don't feel as though you've got enough on, you can always go back over it and scrape the excess back into your pot. And now the bit that people think is really messy. So I'm going to take one of my baby wipes. I'm not going to run to the sink to wash this at the moment, because there's only a little bit on it. It doesn't need, you know, to be under the tap. So I'm just going to take a baby wipe or whatever you've got as a wet towel and clean the spatula like that. And then I can take a clean paper towel, a dry one, and just give it a wipe. There we go. So that's nice and clean. I'm just going to fasten my baby wipes up because I don't want them to dry out. So I can put the top back on my pot. Now I know this is a little bit basic to some people, but you know, for anybody who's never used texture paste, these are the steps, you know, and this is maybe what you just don't know, or you don't know what to do. So now, while the stencil is still wet, I don't have to wait for it to dry. In fact, I don't really want to wait for it to dry because I need to clean my stencil. I can start removing my tape. Now, if your tape has got no texture paste on, you can use it again. And then the first layer of tape is off, so I'm just going to carefully lift my stencil from the corner and pull it up like so, and that leaves my pattern underneath. Now before I do anything with this is my main concern. So what I need is my baby wipe, and I'm going to take 2 baby wipes, one to put the stencil on like that, and then one to put over it, because I'm going to keep talking and you don't want to see me clean that. So it's just going to stop that from drying quickly, because when I've finished talking and finished filming, I'm just going to simply clean the texture paste away from the stencil like that. But the baby wipes are just going to keep it damp until I've got a chance to do that. So that explains that. And now I'm just going to wipe my hands. And just to say, I haven't got a lot on them, but because we're going to deal with our card background, I don't want to get anything on them. So, okay, so our next step, because we're doing it all in real time, I'm going to take off the tape that holds the section down that we've just stenciled. Now I can reuse that tape because it's nice and clean, and I can reuse this one as well because that's nice and clean. And that is our background that we've stenciled. I've got a little bit on the edge, but I'm not too worried about that because I will trim that down. Now at this stage, this is where you leave it to dry. You can see the gloss on it, and if you leave it to dry naturally, it will take, I think it all depends. I always leave mine overnight. Always leave everything overnight. I would say give it a good 2 or 3 hours to dry. Might be less, could be more. But I think it depends on the paste that you're using and the amount you've put on. So it's just a case of test it, you know, just a little bit at the edge of part of it. If you've get anything on your finger, then leave it a little bit longer to dry. So that is our basic how to use a stencil with texture paste. And I hope it's helped a little bit. The only thing I have to do here is remove this sheet. I can save my tape. Just pop that down. I can save this section of tape because it's clean. And I can save this one. I'm going to throw these 2 pieces of tape away that I've put here because they've got a little bit of paste on them. And I wouldn't want to contaminate the next project that I do. And then our scrap paper can be thrown away, and we're back to stage 1 with our messy mat. But that's how we make and use texture paste to create a basic background and using a stencil. And I think that's, you know, quite a good place to start if you're using your texture paste and you've never used it before. And as for backgrounds, tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to do the same background and we're going to do the same process, but we're going to use 2 colours just to show you. We might even do 3 actually, just to show you that we can use our texture paste in various different ways. So in fact, I think throughout the week when we're using a stencil, we're going to keep to the same stencil. It could be anything that you have in your stash. But I'll keep to the same one, and then at the end of the week we can see the various different things that we've created. I think that might be quite a good idea. So that's today's, and that's our first step of how to use texture paste. So I do hope you've enjoyed it. I do hope it's kind of helped with how we do things and what we're going to do throughout the week. If you've got any questions or comments, please feel free on Facebook or my blog. I can get back to you on there, but I can't get back to you on YouTube. I should have said that on the introduction, and I didn't. So, more fool me, hey? But please do, because I do love hearing from you. If you've got anything to say, and I love hearing your comments and how much you've enjoyed the videos and how much it's helped just to get you motivated and get you crafting. So thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time.